ESPN star pundit Stephen A. Smith had some harsh words for the Democrats and for leftists. This is Fox News reporting. Stephen A. Smith blasted the Democratic Party for coming off as a weirder and less viable choice in the last presidential election than Donald Trump and all of his baggage. Talking to Representative Ro Khanna, a Democrat from California, and Bill Maher, Smith scolded liberals for choosing not to campaign on issues that the American people were most concerned about. He admitted that Trump, despite his flaws, legal convictions, and impeachments, did, and that's why he's currently in the White House. Here's the deal. The man was impeached twice. He was convicted on 34 felony accounts, and the American people still said he's closer to normal than what we see on the left, the sports pundit declared, to which Maher replied, exactly. When Bill Maher is saying that, it might seem like a big deal because Bill Maher is actually a prolific Trump attacker, and up until recently has been pretty strongly backing Democrats, although in very recent years he's shifted more to the right, I would say, more anti-woke, like, oh, wokeness bad, guys, let me tell you, but also at the same time being like, I don't like Trump. And so what Stephen A. Smith is getting at here is that Americans saw what Trump was offering as more normal than what the Democrats were offering. Okay, I mean, I guess if you look at things through a very selective lens, if all that you see of the Democratic Party is sex changes for undocumented immigrants and all that you see with Trump is we want to bring prices down, I suppose so. But again, that's a very selective way of looking at it, and it's not a holistic way of looking at the party's platforms. Since Trump's victory in November, Smith has been vocal about the failures of the left that led to that moment. During an interview with Fox News Channel's Sean Hannity days after Election Day, Smith said, I think that in light of those results, we have to look at this election as a referendum on the Democratic Party. And America is saying, we're not feeling where you are, and we're not feeling where you tried to go. We want no part of it, we're not having it, and they made their choice, and we all have to accept it. On Real Time Friday, Smith reiterated that Trump's win was the left's doing as they focused on fringe issues rather than major ones like the economy and border security. That's interesting because the Democrats actually did focus on the economy and border security. Kamala Harris was legit running on price controls, was running on protecting pre-existing conditions, which Trump had threatened in his first term. And Trump only said, we have concepts of a healthcare plan. He famously said that in the debate, and then he said that after he got elected, again in an interview with Kristen Welker. So this seems to be a little bit of selective framing here. He's closer to normal, he continued. Why? Because something that pertains when you talk about the transgender community, for example, and you talk about the issues that pertain to less than 1% of the population, the Democratic Party came across as if that was a priority more so than the other issues. I don't really see it that way. I disagree. I think Trump and his campaign inflated that massively. The Kamala's for they, them, Trump's for you ad obviously was fairly masterfully done. That's just a good punchline, but it's overinflating one issue, treating it like it's the main thing, treating it like, oh, isn't this candidate so crazy and loony just because they said this one thing? And by the way, Trump's for you, which by the way, he's not. I mean, he's not a real populist. He's not a guy who fights for people. He actually has said that he's just going to fight for a tax cut for the wealthy. He told wealthy people, I am fighting for a tax cut for you. So let's not get it twisted. Kamala Harris, for all her flaws, was more populist than Donald Trump. The issue was that Kamala Harris also had a background of saying some things that, were a little bit concerning to Americans. I don't know how much that sunk her campaign, but they were problematic. I guess, yeah, the issue of sex changes for undocumented migrants is a polarizing one and not one that polls well with Americans. The pundit noted that even if Trump campaigned on some issues that he wouldn't be able to accomplish because of opponents in government, he at least appears to have kept his promises. Smith said, so when he shows up week 1 on Capitol Hill, he says, this is what we're going to do through an executive order, even though it's going to be shot down through the courts and what have you. He's saying, I kept my promise. Well, I can tell you one promise he did not keep on the issue of foreign policy, and that is the Russia-Ukraine war. This has not ended. He said that he would end it within 24 hours of taking office. It has been 5 days now, and he has not ended the Russia-Ukraine war. And for such a big culture war issue, I mean, it's foreign policy, but at the same time, the right seems to really be making it a culture war issue of like, oh, we need to stop sending so much money to Ukraine. Ukraine bad. Ukraine is corrupt. Putin's kind of cool, actually. Like Tucker Carlson did that interview with Putin. So yeah, they were whining and moaning about Ukraine funding ever since February 2022, basically, when that invasion happened and when the U.S. started funding Ukraine. And they criticized Biden all the time for that. They criticized neocons in the Republican Party, neoliberals in the Democratic Party for funding Ukraine. Trump said it's going to end, and it didn't end. So yeah, just a total failure to keep a campaign promise on his part. So I don't know. Do you think that Stephen A. Smith is being too charitable to Trump here? He's getting at something real for sure. He is. Normie Americans still gravitate towards Trump. That is true. It is. We hate to admit it, but it's true. The guy acts categorically insane, referring to his political opponents as vermin, talking about bringing in the military to go after the enemy from within. But he still has some normie appeal that still exists. It might erode in the next few years, hopefully by the midterms. It'll probably have eroded by the end of his second term, but we don't know. So yeah, what do you think of what Stephen A. Smith said? I see what he's getting at here, but I feel like he sugarcoated it a little bit for Trump. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Please like, comment, or subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching. This has been The Morris the Merrier, and I look forward to speaking to you in my next video.